So we're going to start by chaining 17. Mark the first chain and just keep going until you have the 17 chains. Skipping the first chain into the second chain, make 2 single crochet. Mark the second single crochet and then make 1 single crochet into the next 14 chains until you reach the chain before the stitch marker. Removing the stitch marker into that last chain, we're going to be making 3 single crochet. After making the 3 single crochet, go ahead and mark the first and last stitch out of the 3. Now we're going to be working into the opposite side of the chain, so skipping that last chain loop and into the second to last chain loop, go ahead and make 1 single crochet there. And this is what we'll be doing until the end of the chain. So into each chain loop where there's a single crochet, go ahead and make 1 single crochet for a total of 15 single crochet. For round 2, we're going to start by making a slip stitch into the first single crochet and chaining 1. Into the first and second stitch, we're going to be making 2 single crochets into each of them. Once you're done with making those increases, remember to insert back your stitch marker. For the next 14 stitches, make 1 single crochet into each of them. After making the 14 single crochets, into the next 3 stitches, place 2 single crochet into each of them. After doing the increases in between the stitch markers, you should have a total of 6 stitches. Stopping at the stitch before the stitch marker, we're going to be making 1 single crochet into each of these next stitches. Into the last stitch, we're going to be making 2 single crochet. and place the stitch marker back into the first single crochet out of the two. Moving on to round 3, we're going to start by making a slip stitch into the first stitch and chain 1. The pattern we'll be repeating for this next 4 stitches is 1 single crochet and then 2 single crochet into the following stitch, one single crochet again into the next stitch, and then 2 single crochets. Remember to insert back your stitch marker after making that last stitch. Into the next 14 stitches, make 1 single crochet, once you're at the stitch marker, into the next 6 stitches, we're going to be making 1 single crochet and then an increase and repeating that pattern. So start off with the 1 single crochet and remember to mark that stitch, and into the following stitch, make the 2 single crochets and keep repeating that pattern. Once you're done, you should have a total of 9 stitches, and then into the next 14 stitches, we're going to be making the 1 single crochet, once you're at the 2 remaining stitches, we're going to be making 1 single crochet into the first stitch, and remember to insert the stitch marker back, and into the last stitch we're going to be placing 2 single crochets into that, Now for round 4, start by making a slip stitch into the first stitch and then chaining 1. Into the next 6 stitches, place 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, and then 2 single crochets into the same stitch. And then for the next 3 stitches, 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, and the increase. Go ahead and make the 14 single crochets now. Once you've reached the increase point, into the next 9 stitches we're going to be making 1 single crochet, mark that stitch again, 1 single crochet, and into the 3rd stitch we're going to be increasing, and just keep repeating that for the remaining stitches. So it's one single crochet, one single crochet, increase, and now you should have a total of 12 stitches at the increase point. Now it's time to make the 14 single crochets again, so go ahead and do so. Once you're at the stitch marker, into those 3 stitches we're going to be making one single crochet, one single crochet, and into the last stitch an increase, and remember to always put back the stitch marker. Start round 5 by slip stitching into the first stitch and then chain 1. Into the next 3 stitches, make one single crochet into each of them. After making those 3 single crochets, into the 4th stitch, make 2 single crochets. And then just keep repeating this pattern. Into the next 3 stitches, make 1 single crochet into each of them. And then into the last stitch, which you should have a stitch marker in, make 2 single crochets. For the next 14 stitches, make 1 single crochet into them. Once you're at the increase point, into the next 12 stitches, we're going to be following the same pattern that we started with. So into the next 3 stitches, we're going to be making 1 single crochet into each of them. And then after you've made those 3 single crochets, into the 4th stitch, we're going to be making 2 single crochet into that, and just keep repeating that pattern. Now at the increase point, you should have a total of 15 stitches. Go ahead now and make those 14 single crochets. Once you're at the stitch marker, you should have 4 stitches remaining, and into the first 3 stitches, we're going to be making 1 single crochet into each of them, and into the last stitch, make that increase. You should have 15 stitches on both sides where the stitch markers are at. Start round 6 by slip stitching into the first stitch and make a chain 1. Make 1 single crochet into the next 4 stitches. And then into the 5th stitch, we're going to be making 2 single crochets. And then repeat that pattern. So 1 single crochet into the next 4 stitches. And into the last stitch, which should be marked, make the increase. Now make the 14 single crochets, and then once you reach the stitch marker, into the next 15 stitches, we're going to be making 1 single crochet into the first 4 stitches. And then on the 5th stitch, we're going to be making that increase, so 2 single crochet into the same stitch. And do this for the remaining stitches. So into the next 4 stitches, make 1 single crochet, and on the 5th, make the increase. In the marked area, you should have 18 stitches, and then just go ahead and make those 14 single crochets. Towards the end, you should have 5 stitches remaining, and just go ahead and make 1 single crochet into the next 4 stitches, and then for the 5th stitch, make 2 single crochet into that. At round 7, we're gonna start with that slip stitch and chaining 1. For the next 12 stitches, we're going to be making 1 single crochet into the first 5 stitches, and then on the 6th stitch, increase and then repeat that again. And now make the 14 single crochets. Once you're at that increase point, into the next 18 stitches, we're going to be making 1 single crochet into the first 5 stitches, and then on the 6th stitch we're increasing and then repeat that pattern. You should now have 21 stitches at the increase point. Now we're going to be making those 14 single crochets. Once you're near the end, you should have 6 stitches remaining. Go ahead and make 1 single crochet into the next 5 stitches, and then into the last stitch make 2 single crochets. On to round 8, we're gonna start by making that slip stitch and the chain 1. For the next 14 stitches, we're going to be working 1 single crochet into the next 6 stitches, and then into the 7th stitch make 2 single crochet into that, and then just repeat that pattern. Now go ahead and make the 14 single crochet. Now at the increase point into the next 21 stitches, we're going to be making 1 single crochet into the next 6 stitches, and then into the 7th stitch place that increase and just keep repeating that. Once you're done, you should have a total of 24 stitches from one stitch marker to the next. Make those 14 single crochets. Once you're near the end, you should have 7 stitches, and into the first 6 stitches make 1 single crochet, and into the 7th stitch make the increase. For round 9, start by making the slip stitch and chain 1, and this is going to be our last increase round. Into the next 16 stitches, make 1 single crochet into the first 7 stitches, and then on the 8th stitch increase and repeat that pattern. Into the next 14 stitches, make 1 single crochet. Once you're at the increase point, into the next 7 stitches, place 1 single crochet, and on the 8th stitch, make an increase and repeat that pattern. You should have a total of 27 stitches at the increase point. Into the next 14 stitches, place the 1 single crochet. Once you're at the stitch marker, you should have 8 stitches remaining. Into the first 7 stitches, make 1 single crochet, and then for the final stitch, make an increase. You should now have a total of 82 stitches, and for round 10, we're gonna start by making a slip stitch into the first stitch and chain 1. Into the first stitch, through both loops, make 1 single crochet, and then into the next 81 stitches, make 1 single crochet through the back loop only. The back loop is going to be the stitch that is the farthest from you. Now for round 11, we're going to be making a slip stitch into the next 16 stitches. So go ahead and do so. Once you've made the 16 slip stitches, we're going to be making the ear, which is worked over 3 stitches. Into the next stitch, we're going to be making 1 single crochet, a half double crochet, and then a double crochet, and these are all worked into the same stitch. Into the following stitch, place 2 treble crochets. After making the 2 treble crochets into the same stitch, into the third stitch of the 3, we're going to be making a double crochet, a half double crochet, and a single crochet, and this is into the 1 stitch. Then go ahead and make 16 slip stitches. And for the second ear, it also works over 3 stitches, and it's the same pattern. Into the next stitch, we're going to be making a single crochet, a half double crochet, and a double crochet, all into the same stitch. And then into the second stitch of the 3, we're going to be making 2 treble crochets into the same stitch. And doing the reverse of what we started with, make a double crochet, a half double crochet, and then a single crochet, all into 1 stitch. And then into the rest of the stitches, just make a slip stitch all around. Once you're at the end, just go ahead and pull up the yarn, cut the yarn, pull through on that slip stitch, and weave in the yarn however you know best. Now we're going to be making the nose, and to do so, we're gonna start by making a magic circle plus a chain 1. Into the magic circle, make 6 single crochets. Close the magic circle, and then you can go ahead and mark the last stitch. And for round 2, all we're going to be doing is making 2 single crochet into each of those 6 stitches for a total of 12. At the end, go ahead and just slip stitch into that first stitch, and also chain 1, cut the yarn and weave in the yarn tails. Now on the nose, we're going to be making a triangle. Once you've made the triangular shape, go ahead and fill in the middle of it. Now for the eyes, we're going to start by making a magic circle. Chain 1 and into the magic circle make 7 single crochets. At the end, we're going to be color switching, so do not complete that last single crochet, but introduce your new yarn color and then close the magic circle. You can also go ahead and cut that yarn. Now we're going to be making 7 slip stitch, so into each single crochet make a slip stitch. Once you're at the end, chain 1, cut the yarns and pull through on that chain 1. Thread your yarn onto a needle, and we're gonna be sewing through that first slip stitch. And then go ahead and just weave in the yarn tails, but not the one that you just used to make the slip stitch. Repeat the steps to make another eye. Once you have your 2 eyes, go ahead and place them in the position that you're going to sew them in. And also position the nose. Go ahead and sew the eyes and the nose down in the position you placed them in. And this is the final result. Thank you for watching.